fostering the creative capacities of mankind, thrived upon a culture of scientific advancement and development of basic economic infrastructure. A vast railway grid, stretching from ocean to ocean, reinforced the internal sovereignty of the nation and secured independence from any external sea power. In this way, the United States became the first continental sovereign nation-state to establish itself on the map in the entire span of recorded history.
Now, a nation is an entirely different thing. A nation, if you look at our Constitution and Declaration of Independence, where it says clearly that the purpose of what we're doing is to protect the general welfare of the population, that we're all in this together, that everybody gets protected, that we want to build a nation according to a concept which promotes culture, which promotes the development of the individuals and the creative potential of the human mind, because that's your real asset.
The international consequences of America's achievement precipitated rapidly. Just as Carey had foreseen, the popularity of the American system spread throughout the globe as other nations perceived its successful thwarting of the British Empire. Nations such as Germany, Russia, and Japan underwent rapid development. Germany, in particular, began to develop a vast network of rail and canals. With such an immense system of infrastructure, it quickly became a leader in industry throughout not only Europe, but the entire world. The productive output of Germany's Ruhr region was second only to the powerhouse of America, the Pittsburgh region. With Germany's exports growing, so did its maritime power, and as it laid plans to fund the construction of a continuous rail grid from Berlin to Baghdad, it emerged as a significant threat to the long-standing British world dominance.
But if you promote the creative potential of the human mind, then you also destroy the world in which the empires operate. Because anybody who's got a brain and can see a better way is not going to tolerate these things. And that when the United States, as you saw after the Civil War, when we got the American system up and running and started exporting it to other countries around the world, we were transforming the world. And we were the greatest threat to this system on the planet. And they've been after us to take it down ever since.
Though America could no longer be subverted by military means, such tactics were still fully deployable by the British against other nations. With the 1888 accession of Queen Victoria's imprudent grandson, Wilhelm II, to the German throne, the British Empire needed only to set the trap. Under the maintenance of his uncle, England's King Edward VII, Willie had no difficulty in falling for it. Earlier in the 19th century, Britain's Lord Palmerston, notorious for his foreign manipulations, had already prearranged the ploy. Were any conflict to break out between Germany and France, Palmerston well knew that the Belgian territory would be a crucial strategic position for German success. Thus, under his instigation, Belgium was set up as a neutral country, meaning that should any nation violate Belgium's border, that nation would immediately become the target of British aggressions. Britain had but to lure them in. Germany, however, had grown to such a power that Britain and France alone would not be capable of defeating her.
The British method is to get other people to go out and fight a war and kill each other. And they then come in and pick up the pieces after the people have exhausted themselves in killing each other.
Once the British drew Russia into an alliance against Germany after Kaiser Wilhelm II disintegrated the alliance with Russia, the supplemental power the British sought to wage a two-front war against Germany was secured. all that remained to be introduced was the spark. The convenient assassination of Austrian heir apparent Archduke Franz Ferdinand, carried out by means of Serbian nationalists, ignited the situation, pitting the Germans and Austrians against the Russians and French. The British up to the last minute maintained a public appearance of having no interest in the continental conflicts brewing in the summer of 1914. Yet their intent was unrelentingly to crush Germany at all costs.
So this is the way it happened. But the purpose was to destroy, geopolitically as they call it, to destroy continental Europe, continental Eurasia, to create it, maintain it under the control of the British Empire. And using whatever lies, whatever excuses and so forth they could use, whatever motives they could cook up to get this thing going. The essential thing is what's called geopolitics. To maintain the maritime power of the British system as the world empire. Always been their policy.
As World War I broke out in August 1914, and as all the intentions were unveiled, Kaiser Wilhelm II bewailed,
"The world will be engulfed in the most terrible of wars, the ultimate aim of which is the ruin of Germany. England, France, and Russia have conspired for our annihilation. That is the naked truth of the situation which was slowly but surely created by Edward VII. The encirclement of Germany is at last an accomplished fact. We have run our heads into the noose."
In the aftermath of Germany's military defeat, the British intention to stop the spread of the American system's potential was now revealed. On condition of the 1918 armistice, the Army and Navy were completely dismantled, and all of Germany's locomotives and train cars were extracted from the country. The 1919 peace conference in Paris excluded Germany from the negotiations. The full burden for all damages incurred through the war were heaped upon Germany. As an initial installment, 20 billion gold marks were to be paid to the Allied victors in the form of German bonds, redeemable either in gold marks or physical goods. Germany was to be stripped of its entire merchant marine fleet. It was to produce 200,000 tons of ships each year, along with reconstruction equipment for the Allied nations. 100,000 head of cattle were to be relinquished to France and Belgium alone, along with hundreds of thousands of other farm animals. This would occur in tandem with a continued naval blockade, which had already reduced the food intake level of the German people to half that of before the war. Not only were Germany's materials to be extracted, but key border territories were to be ceded to surrounding countries. The Alsace-Lorraine region, possessing the most developed canal system for transport of materials and products from the Rhine River, as well as large deposits of iron ore and coal, was to be turned over to France. Upper Silesia, another choke point of industry and transport, was to be ceded to Poland. The sudden loss of manpower, resources, rich farmland, and factories would slash the ability to meet the reparations requirements. These were the terms of the Versailles Treaty. Were Germany to refuse them, the defenseless nation was threatened with invasion and occupation. In the words of the German government, they had no choice but to sign their own death sentence.